scores majestically.
Oh my word! Fabulous!
Oh, what a strike that is. Simply spectacular.
Oh, it's an absolute beauty, isn't it?
The best goal of the night.
It all starts here.
Hello and welcome to this week's show as we look back on a brilliant weekend of football in the National League on DAZN. Joining me, as always, is my partner in football, Erin McLean. It's been a good weekend, hasn't it?
It's been a very good weekend. Lots of goals, lots of drama. It's exactly what we expect in the National League.
You were commentating on the game at the bottom of the table, AFC Fylde and Maidenhead. What did you make of it?
Really interesting game. I thought Maidenhead were outstanding on the night. Really good goals. Their strike force looks really, really good. I think that's definitely going to be what will keep them in the division. As for AFC Fylde, I've got to say I worry for Kevin Phillips and his team. They were pretty poor on the night. Their home record is not the best. Their away record is even worse. 11 defeats out of, I think, 13 or 14 games now. So, yeah, it's worrying times for them.
Yeah, worrying times for them. But down at the bottom, there were some great results for the likes of Braintree. 1-0 victory over Solihull. That's a really big result for them.
Massive result. And it backs up, I think they'd got a draw in their previous game. But to go and get the 3 points, any 3 points at this time of the season, when you're fighting for your lives at the bottom of the league, is huge.
Ebbsfleet and our pal Josh Wright got another draw. That's 3 in a row. He's really starting to mould his team and proving that they're getting the results against these tough teams with the draw at Woking.
Yeah, I look at Josh and I think he's probably gone in there at the right time. You know, is it going to be enough to be able to keep them in the division? Probably not. If I was a betting man, I'd say no. But what it does allow him is it allows him that grace period to build a team, to start to transform the fortunes of the club. You know, you can tell that the whole environment and atmosphere within Ebbsfleet Club has changed. And now they're not getting the wins, which I'm sure that will change. I'm sure they will start picking up a few wins. But just getting that consistent run, unbeaten run now in the last 3 games, I think that just lifts the cloud that's been sitting over Ebbsfleet for the majority of the season.
And he's one of the best dressed managers in the National League now. Have you seen his clobber?
I have seen. Well, listen, I know Josh really well, so I know that he knows how to dress. But I must say, in terms of the best dressed person in the National League, I think I definitely win that award.
Debatable with that. Well, one of the biggest shocks of the weekend was York City's home defeat, their first since August, with Will Davies bagging a brace to haunt his former side. A defeat which means the midweek fixture with Oldham is now even bigger. We will come onto that rearranged game very shortly. Erin, that's a massive shock in the National League. We watched Sutton play in midweek. They got a draw against Wealdstone. We didn't expect them to go to York and pick up all 3 points.
No, we didn't. York have been very consistent, very, very good at home so far this season. So I don't think anyone expected Sutton to go there and beat them. But you've got to say, I'm not surprised. In the National League, I'm definitely not surprised.
Anything can happen.
On their day, anyone can beat anyone. And Sutton are a team that, again, has playoff aspirations. And they'll be looking at now 2025 to really kick on and really put a good run together to hopefully get in those playoffs and get back to the Football League.
And Will Davies breaking a lot of York City fans' hearts, was playing for the club, goes and bags a brace against them. What is it like going back to an old club and scoring?
It's brilliant. I've got to say, I've done it a few times in my career where I've, moved on to another club and then gone back. And fortunately enough for me, usually when I go back to my old clubs, I end up scoring. The best one for me, Peterborough fans won't appreciate me saying it, but when I got my move to Hull, fortunately Peterborough got promoted into the Championship the following season. But then, I went back to London Road, scored the winner, win 1-0. It was a worldie goal as well. Check it out. For me, it was never too much of a problem. But listen, I'm sure that you'd have to ask the York fans what they think when Will Davies goes back there, scores 2. And if those goals end up being the goals that stop them from getting promotion, I'm sure they won't be too pleased.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, there was another big result at the top of the table as Barnet kept the pressure on Forest Green Rovers with a 3-0 win at Southend United. Defender Daniel Collins grabbed a brace with 2 headed goals either side of half-time, both from corners. We spent the day with Dean Brennan ahead of that game against Forest Green Rovers, which ended 0-0. How important is it that they ended that run of draws and got a big victory away at Southend?
I think it was huge. You know, I think that when you're trying to go and win the league, which Barnet are, you need to be winning games. Draws, you'd rather win a few and lose a few as opposed to just continuously drawing, because it becomes a habit. You know, yes, it's an unbeaten run and you can take the positives from that, but there's nothing better than getting back on the coach and getting the 3 points.
Forest Green Rovers picked up another 3 points at the top of the table. They're sitting pretty. Steve Cottrell's got them playing some great football.
Yeah, listen, they are probably the strongest team in the division, and they've got the most experienced manager. You know, they are a team that you look at and say, the run that they're on, I think they're 16 games unbeaten now. You know, they're going to be hard to stop. Barnet, very, very similar to them in terms of strong throughout their squad, but I don't think they have the spending power and attacking power that Forest Green have. So for me, they are the favourites now. Barnet, at the beginning of the season, were the favourites. For me, Forest Green are the favourites. And in McAllister, they've got one of the outstanding players in the division.
Another player that's doing really well was Alex Newby. He scored again for Altrincham. They're sort of going under the radar a little bit, but they've got their aspirations of reaching the playoffs as well.
Well, they're going under the radar purely because they didn't start the season the greatest. But if you look at them, you know, over the last few seasons, they've been outstanding. Phil Parkinson plays a brilliant brand of football. Alex Newby and Regan Linney, you know, 2 outstanding attacking players. Last season, they had Con Clark to add to that mix as well, who, you know, was Player of the Year and went on and got his move to Peterborough.
Forest Green travel to Altrincham this Saturday. What are you expecting from that one?
Difficult game for Forest Green. Like I say, Altrincham now back-to-back wins. They're now in the groove. Newby and Regan Linney are 2 very, very dangerous players, you know, on any day. So Forest Green will know that they're going to have to have their wits about them. They're going to have to go there and play their best football. If they do that, then I expect a really competitive game. But I'm gonna say I actually think that Altrincham will come out on top of them.
Aaron, as you are the only striker between the two of us who has scored in all the divisions, it's only right that you pick the top 3 goals from the National League this weekend. So, starting in 3rd place, who have you gone for?
Well, I've gone for Matt Robinson for Braintree. It's an unbelievable strike. But even more than that, the importance of that goal. You know, on his left foot, catches hold of it perfectly.
Yeah, a great strike. So who have you got in at number 2?
Number 2, I've got Will Davis. I'm sure York fans won't appreciate it, but again, 2 goals for him. This one's a fantastic finish. Lovely little chop, and then just smashes it home. So yeah, I've got to put Davis in.
And in at number 1?
In at number 1, it has to be someone from my old football club, Josh Barrett. Fantastic finisher. Has struggled a little bit with goals purely because he keeps hitting the woodwork. You know, if he hadn't have kept hitting the woodwork this season, he'd probably be up there with Regan Linney and Ollie Pearce. But a fantastic hat-trick for Aldershot. Again, a really welcome 3 points for them. And he gets to take the match ball home as well.
It leads nicely on to the big game on Tuesday, Oldham versus York. We're going to call it Foggate because we made the trip up there for the fog to ruin that one. A lot's happened for Oldham since that game, losing 2 big players in Josh Stones and Sam Clucas. How much are they going to miss them?
They are going to miss them. No, there's no doubt about it. They're 2 top quality players. You know, when they brought them in, all of a sudden the league had to just take a look and say, hold on a sec, they're serious. They're serious contenders. Stones, I think, I'm not surprised that he's gone because I do look, and he was only there for a short period of time anyway. Sam Clucas is probably the really big blow because I think that they would have been expecting to keep him for the remainder of the season. The fact that he's gone to his boyhood club in Lincoln has probably come a little bit left field. But Oldham as a club should be able to recover from that. I've no doubt that Mickey Mellon and his backroom staff are working hard to try and bring in reinforcements through this transfer window. And if they're able to do so, you know, they can still go on and have a fantastic season.
Do you think the fans are going to give Josh Stones a little bit of needle, as it were, with him going back to sort of Oldham.
He's clearly looked at York and said, I probably think that they've got a better chance of getting promotion. He's probably thought the brand of football that they play is one that he wants to be a part of. Do I think he'll get some stick? Absolutely. I think that's just part and parcel of the game. And it's, as long as it's nothing, too far, I think that's all fun. Every game that I used to go to, I used to get loads of stick from the fans. I kind of enjoyed it. And I've no doubt that looking at Josh Stones, looking at the type of person he is, I'm sure that he'll relish going there and he'll hope to be on the score sheet as well.
The big question is, if he is on the score sheet, do you think he celebrates?
Absolutely.
Would you?
I would probably celebrate. He was there on loan and he was there for a short period of time. Your job is to go out there and to score goals for whichever club you're playing for.
And they've already got one of the best strikers in the National League in Ollie Pearce, who we spoke to. And you can check out that interview on the DAZN platform. It's really, really interesting to hear from Ollie. They played them both at the weekend. Did that come a bit... Are they too good not to play together?
I just think that they're both very good players. And I think York have been looking for something to be able to tweak the way they play. They've got to this stage of the season being very predictable in they want to get the ball down, they want to pass, they want to play through the lines. What Josh Stones offers you is a physical presence as well. Will be prepared to run in behind and ruffle defenders up. And Ollie Pearce, not only is he a very good goal scorer, really good in terms of a creative presence as well. Can drop in and play in that little number 10 position, but also can do the other side of it as well. So they've got really good balance now in attacking options. And I just think that the managers looked at it and said, let's utilise it. Let's see what they can do together.
And you can watch the rearranged game of Oldham versus York City live on DAZN. Kickoff is 7:45. But also, make sure you check out our social channels.
This isn't just football, this is the thrill of the National League.
Discover the stories behind your favourite clubs and get behind-the-scenes access to the National League like never before. From interviews with your favourite players to unseen angles of the biggest games, we've got everything you could possibly want. Here's a quick look at just some of what we've been cooking.
I had Maiden.
Of course, yeah, no.
All right then. Diesel. All right then, man.
This is the part of the show where producer Josh tells us what the fans have been saying on social media. We're going to kick things off, Erin, from Heather, who's an Aldershot fan, who says, could the National League become EFL Division 3 within the next 10 years?
Yes, most certainly. It could. I think people have been calling for it to be a League 3 for a long period of time. I think it's going to take a little while because I think until every team in the National League is full-time and they can kind of prove that once you do go into the National League from the north and from the south, it's sustainable. I think until that happens, then yeah, there's no real conversation to be had. Also, in order to make it a League 3, so to speak, all the teams in the EFL have to agree, and are they going to want to, introduce another full-time league? I think there's questions to be asked as well. Same as asking questions about having an extra promotion space. I think there should be 2 up automatically and then playoffs. But again, that means that there's going to be an extra place coming down from the League 2.
One thing I think we all agree on is that the National League is very much on the way up in football. So long may that continue. Right, John, the Oldham fan, says, is it make or break on Tuesday? We find out if we are realistic contenders for top spot or playoff hopefuls. It is as simple as that.
I wouldn't say it's make or break. I would say it will go a long way towards filling everyone with confidence if they're able to beat York. They'll close the gap. And both of those clubs have games in hand over the teams in and around them. The games in hand don't only mean anything if you win them. You know, so yes, I do think it's a massive game, and I do think if they win it, it really puts them in the conversation to actually end as title winners. But if they don't, it's not the end of the world.
Wayne, the York fan, a minor setback on our journey. I expected playoffs, and anything more is a bonus. There are some big games ahead. Come on, York City. I think with York City fans, their understanding of where they've come from, considering how close they were to being relegated to the National League North.
Yeah, that's a brilliant tweet.
They're realistic.
Because you do have to put things in perspective, and sometimes in football, perspective goes out the window, and everyone expects everything, success tomorrow. It doesn't work like that. And for people that were following York last season, would have looked and say, they stayed up by 1 point. They finished 20th in the division. They'd not spent money well for the last couple of years since coming back into the National League. So where they are now, they should be in dreamland. Perspective is a huge, huge thing. And what they're doing right now is fantastic.
Yeah, they're getting a lot of support at home games as well this weekend. 6,369 fans. The only team to beat that, Southend United, 6,955. It's been a tough week for Southend, with the game getting called off with the fog and then losing at home to 3-0. But one thing that is certain is that those fans will back their team no matter what.
Absolutely. Well, you just look at what they've had to deal with over the last, it seems like years, and it has been years. Now the takeover's taken over. I know that Southend fans would have almost maybe expected them to be competing, at the top end of the division. I think we all did. But some things just take a little bit longer. I think the biggest thing was making sure that there's going to be a Southend for the foreseeable, and that aspect seems to have been taken care of now. Now it's just steady progression. I think the fans, as they have done throughout this whole period and throughout their time supporting Southend, just continue to support the club, because I do believe in the near future there will be changes and the club will start to get back to where they belong, which is in the Football League. I think it's just they just have to be a little bit more patient.
Absolutely right. The man in charge at Barnet, Dean Brennan, is coming up next. The second part of that interview is after this short break.
Let's knuckle up! Can I get a face-off with Conor McGregor?
Combat fighting in its purest form.
There is no show in the world like the BKFC.
47 years of promoting boxing. What a ride it's been. I was 23 years old at the time. I got an invite from the Boxing Board of Control to take a licence out. Back then, it was all run by the cartel.
We have a new promoter in British Championship Boxing, Frank Warren.
People liked it, I think, the fact that someone was taking the cartel on. I've never been afraid about shaking things up and working with new media.
This is a bit of a dream come true.
Pay-per-view, satellite TV.
Very proud of Amir. What he done was fantastic.
Bringing shows in from America Live. I've been lucky enough to promote some of the biggest names in boxing.
I'd like to thank Mr. Frank Warren for having me over here.
Just when you think it can't get any bigger, my mobile rang. We get this call from His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh. Off we went to the races. I'm as competitive as my fighters, and I fight for my fighters. I'm always looking for the next challenge, and I know there's one there now.
Queensbury arrives at the home of boxing, DAZN, multi-year deal, let's go.
This is a company that is devoted to boxing. They have a worldwide platform. And for us, that is very, very important to do what Queensbury is doing, to be expanding and building, working together for the betterment of boxing, as I believe it will be.
So many star names on show.
What a spectacular goal! Ronaldo! And he finishes in typical style.
And that surely wins it.
On Tuesday, February 4th, we are bringing you multi-match live again. Our main game will feature the Daggers taking on Forest Green. But as always, we will be bringing you goals and updates from all the National League games that night. Join myself and my fellow commentator Aaron from 7:15. It's now time for part 2 of our interview with Barnet boss and one of the biggest characters in the National League, Dean Brennan. Dean, we're going to take a trip down memory lane. Where did it all start for you? Where did your love for football begin?
Oh, God. Liverpool. I was a huge Liverpool fan as a kid. In the 80s, they were a great side. When John Barnes was my hero, what a player he was, you know. So that's when it started, really, as a kid. And I remember that candy short and the crown paints. And I remember Ian Rush scoring that swivel against Everton in the cup final. That's where it started.
When did you realise that you were half decent at football?
I think I was 10 and I got about 40 goals in there. And then you could sort of see, but I grew up in an era, like my age group was unbelievable. You had Robbie Keane, you had Damien Duffs, like, you know, they won the European Championships. Liam George was a player I played with as well. And so many good players that come over, and Richard Dunn as well was another player. We had a great year. I think it's the only time Ireland have ever won the Euros, and I think they got to do the semi-finals of the World Cup as well, under 18s as well. So you sort of like coming through the age groups, you play against all these players week in, week out in the schoolboy section in Dublin, and yeah, it was streetwise football. You had to be smart, you know, it was tough as well. So yeah, I was very lucky.
So Dean, was coming over to England to play football always the ambition? I was lucky to get over. You know how hard it is. Everyone in Ireland wants to come to England, and they all want to get an opportunity, and I got that. And I probably didn't play as high as I probably should have. I had a longevity in the career as I probably should have, and they're the regrets I do have, because I didn't live my life right. I was a poor professional, really, and I definitely flipped that on its head when it comes to being a manager. I've been more professional than ever, and I don't want to make that mistake again. When we first got together at Grays, I really struggled, you know, early in my time there. But you was always one that, you know, pulled me aside and always gave me really good advice. Were you almost like a manager or a manager's head, even when you was a player? If you think me and Stimo got an unbelievable, we had a great relationship. I helped him recruit about 6 or 7 players there. And I did always think that way, and I challenged him a couple of times, and it wasn't my place. I remember once challenging him at half-time about changing the tactics in front of everybody. And it was stupid, really. I should have never did that, but they were the kind of things I do. But I remember you weren't in the team, you were sort of 5th choice striker, and you come to me and I said, listen, keep your head down, work on your game, work on your finishing, because your finishing was a little bit erratic, no disrespect. We used to have that. I'd say, just stay. I don't appreciate you saying on camera, but back then, but you worked on your game. You were 24, 23, 24, and you worked on your game. I remember, I was probably 25, 26. I remember staying back with you after training and like feeding you little balls, and both of us would walk together. We'd walk with Ashley Bays and people like that. And you only get out what you put in, I'm afraid, you know what I mean? So, and that's what it was for you. You kicked on and you had that power, and you know, you were mad because, like, with you personally, you couldn't do any of the runs, but you go on the pitch, you'd never stop running. Yeah. You know, it was mad. But back then, we'd be doing 12-minute runs and stuff like that. And then I'd be looking at you, we'd be lapping you, we'd be going, how does he go out on the pitch then and run around like you did? And you had some success at Grays, winning the FA Trophy, and then you won it the year after. Yeah. What do you remember from that final? Yeah, that was a mad, because Gary Hooper went in a tackle with the manager, I think it was Dean Brennan, his name was, and the lad broke his leg in that game. Yeah, because Hoops, I played right back that game, funny enough, and Hoops played just in front of me. And Johnny Martin scored a great goal. They equalised late. And that game, actually, that should have been an OG. He scored the OG, by the way. But exclusive. Yeah, honestly, it should have been an OG. When you actually look at that, it was me trying to cut out the front post, and the lads come across me, and I've put it into the roof of the net. There he got given the goal. But we won on penalties. It was a great feeling. We had a great week, and we went back to the club. We had a great time at the club. And I ended up staying at the chairman's house and Mickey's house that night. And we went again the next day. So, listen, they're the great bits of football. We won the league with... It must have been about 10 games to go. So we had a great side. When you look at the players, and then the year after, then to be first time I recruited brilliantly. I brought in Coitley and Johnny Martins, and you know, they could come on permanent, and that's when you started to come in. Because you'd come in earlier, but you were cup tied, you couldn't play in the trophy. So we had a great group of players, and I think that team should have achieved more when it went to the National League. I think we went 16 games unbeaten at the start.
And I think it should have lost to Halifax in the playoffs. Yeah, to Chris Wilder's team, funny enough, yeah. I think I should have achieved more, I've got to be honest with you, with the players they had. And obviously there was financial difficulty at the time, so lots changed. I thought Mark Stimson did an amazing job.
When did you get the bug to become a manager or a coach?
I knew like early doors, because I used to read the game tactically. I love reading the game. I love man management. I think that's important, being yourself. And it was just about getting the right opportunity. I got my first chance when I was 29 as caretaker manager at Hemel. I did 8 games, managed to keep him up. Mr. Boggins decided to go with Colin Payne and give him the job, and then I come back 2 years later. But what I did was I went to become assistant manager while I was working a day job as well and trying to build a business. I went to become assistant manager at Dunstable Town and Aylesbury FC, just so I could get used to talking in front of the group. So it was always in my head, how can I get used to like standing in front of the group and loads of eyes looking at you? And that's when I started to do that. And then I got the chance at the age of 31 to manage Hemel in the Southern League. And we managed to get up in the second year, and then that was a great opportunity for me. I spent 7 years there.
I spoke to Ollie Hawkins when he was at Hemel, or about his time at Hemel. If I'm right, did he do a shot before a game?
He did mad stuff, Ollie. Hawks did some... Listen, he was a huge character. I'll tell you where I found Hawks. This is a great story. I'll go watch Northwood on a Monday night against Slough. Right? And in Northwood, I don't know if you've been there, it's a couple of levels below us. We're in the Conference South, there's a couple of levels below us. And I'm watching and I go... this kid comes on at half time and he starts peeing on the shoulder and they're hitting these doors, he's nodding it down. I'm going, who's this kid? So bang, straight in the book. I'll go watch him a few weeks later. I said, this kid's proper. He's got a real chance. And he could run, which was massive. So I bring him and I think he was getting 20 quid at Northwood and I give him 40 quid at Hemel a week. And that's how I signed Ollie Hawkins. And he did brilliant for me. And we sold him the tag and we went on and on and on. But he was a big character. He did mad stuff. He was funny.
For you, what does the future look like? I'm not trying to wish you away from Barnet. You're doing an unbelievable job, and I'm sure you want to get promoted with Barnet. But do you have ambitions of going and managing at the highest level possible?
You always want to manage as high as you can. Like I've stayed very loyal to Barnet. I stayed very loyal to the previous club I was at as well, where I had opportunities to leave. So I've showed a lot of loyalty here. I could have jumped up a level or two several times already. I've decided to stay at the football club. I've got 18 months left, and the last 3.5 years have been unbelievable so far. But can we just get over it? My dream is to take the football club up. I think if we get the football club back to the EFL, I think it'll be monumental because I think you can kick on again. If I actually look at that division, you can kick on again. And could I do 2 promotions? I know it's difficult, and I know. I've got a great saying, if you reach for the moon, you just might get the stars. And that's how we think here, So, please God, we can have a successful season. But we know there's a lot of hard work to go. And we know there's lots of huge challenges. And we're looking forward to each one of them.
Well, the National League is a better place with managers like yourself in the division. Thank you for talking to us again, Dean.
Thanks.
Cheers, Dean.
Cheers, lads.
Big thanks to Barnet boss Dean Brennan for having us that day. It was great to get an insight onto what goes on behind the scenes at a National League club. The access we can get is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and it's full credit to the clubs and to the individuals. Barnet were very accommodating. Dean Brennan was so open and honest. Not only about his time as manager, but about his career and his upbringing. It was fascinating to hear his story, and we have to thank everyone that's involved in allowing us to have that access.
Yeah, I absolutely love going behind the scenes at non-league clubs. He mentioned about his own journey, his footballing one, that he probably wasn't the best professional and he could have gone on and done bigger things. Are there any players that you played with that surprised you, that went on to go and have a career?
Well, there's a lot of players that surprised me in terms of how far they went, and I look at early in my career playing with the likes of Michael Kitely, for example, was doing really well in the National League after being released from Southend. But the way that his career just catapulted, and ends up going on and getting promotion and playing week in, week out in the Premier League, having Manchester United chasing him at one stage. His career went from strength to strength. Tyrone Mings, another one, started in non-league. I played with him when he was a youngster at Ipswich. Ends up going and playing for England in major tournaments. So, I look, there's a lot of stories of players that when you see them at the beginning, it's difficult to see where their destination is, but it just shows that, you know, hard work and dedication, you can go on and achieve things.
Yeah, there are so many success stories in the National League, and we have all the coverage for you on DAZN. But here is what else is coming up on the platform. On Tuesday, February 4th, we are bringing you multi-match live again. Our main game will feature the Daggers taking on Forest Green. But as always, we will be bringing you goals and updates from all the National League games that night. Join myself and Erin from 7:15 for that one. Also, catch all the goals and action from this week's round of the National League with our highlight show exclusively live on DAZN every Sunday from 4 p.m. Join us for the UEFA Women's Champions League draw show on February 7th. We are live at 11:30 a.m. to find out who will be playing who in the quarters and semis in the UEFA Women's Champions League. After the draw, we can turn our attention to the knockouts. The second legs of the quarterfinals will take place in March. The semis follows in April, and the final will be held in Portugal in May. You can watch it all on DAZN, the global home of the UEFA Women's Champions League. We're going to finish up with the biggest story of the weekend in the National League, and it comes from Dorking Wanderers. We absolutely love this. John Parkin coming out as a mascot. That is absolutely brilliant.
Well, John is the biggest mascot I've ever seen, and probably the most experienced mascot as well. So, yeah, brilliant work from all the Under the Cosh team.
Can we get you as a mascot coming up soon?
Absolutely not. Listen, I'm prepared to do a lot of things, but sorry, I will definitely not be a mascot. John, that's all you, mate.
Right, and if any of you fans out there spot anything in the National League and the lower league divisions, do let myself and Erin know, and we'll try and do a little shout out on the Vodcast. Right, that's it from us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.